Hello, my name is Annette Dalloo, and you are listening to The Heart of You. This is episode 11. We are going to be talking about the laws of the universe. Now, you may not have known that there are actually laws of the universe. But there are. There are 12 of them that we abide by here on Earth. Of course, there are many other laws of the universe in other realms, in other dimensions. But here on Earth, we do have 12 laws that we can live by. And if we are aware of them, it will make our lives just that much easier. Now, most people have already heard of the law of attraction, and that is one of the most popular laws. People know about it just because of various different books and movies that have been written about it. The one thing that is important to know, though, is that these laws are always in effect. They're always working on a constant basis. It is whether or not you are tuned into these laws and how you can use them to your advantage. Some of the other laws that you will hear today might be familiar to you, but you didn't really realize that they were actual laws of the universe. And that is the case with the first one, which is called the law of divine oneness. And this law speaks to the fact that every single one of us is connected. We are all part of the divine, so we are all also part of the universe. However you would like to frame it, we are all part of each other. So when you are looking at another person, if you can imagine that they are a part of you. And I know it's hard to imagine that everything is connected, but if you really tap into some of those synchronicities that you experience in your day-to-day life, it is really hard to deny how connected everything is. Think about the last time you got a phone call from a friend. And the second you pick up the phone, you say, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you and I was just about to call you." Or you were just about to send a text message and the person texts you immediately right before you're able to hit send. It's those kinds of things that can tell you undeniably how connected we actually are. One way that you can utilize this particular law to your advantage is to think of every single person, every single creature and living thing on this earth as a part of you. And when you think of it like that, you will be a lot less likely to judge another person. It can really help you have compassion for every single living thing on this earth. The second law is the law of vibration. Now, you may have heard me speak about this in reference to raising your vibration or being at a higher vibration in order to manifest what you want. And so it does go very much hand in hand with the law of attraction. When you raise your vibration, it simply means that your energy is at a higher frequency than it was in the past. And so our ultimate goal is to have our vibration be resonating at a frequency that is attracting the things that we want in our life. So if you think about emotions as vibration, where actually everything on the planet has a vibration, that vibration is constantly changing and evolving. If you think about the emotions you have, fear, jealousy, anger, sadness, all of those emotions would be sort of a lower energy. If you think about joy and happiness, and compassion and love, those are all higher vibrational frequencies. And when you are in a higher vibrational frequency on a regular basis, you are going to attract more things to you that share that vibration. You may ask, how is it that I can raise my vibration? There are so many ways to do it, and for each individual person, it's going to be completely different. But I can say that if there is something particular that you use as a vice or a crutch to deal with your emotions when you don't want to deal with them, chances are that particular substance, whether it be caffeine or cigarettes or alcohol or sleeping or video games or anything like that that is going to be masking the emotions you're having, as opposed to allowing you to move through your emotions and letting them transmute, which is yet another law of attraction, but we will get to that in a minute. If you have any of those coping mechanisms that are not particularly healthy for you, those are the things that are actually going to lower your vibration. So it's not just external things that you consume within your body, such as foods or substances. It is also your overall energy levels. If you are at a high energy level, you are full of love, full of compassion and gratitude for everything that is going on in your life. If you are genuinely there, that is what you are going to attract most of. What a lot of people don't understand is that you cannot fake out the universe. Your energy does not lie. If you are really dealing with something that is heavy or sad and you're dealing with grief, it's totally fine. You don't have to worry about, oh no, I'm in a lower energy that's really bad. No, it's not that. It's about moving through that energy, being able to heal and move on to higher energies in a timely fashion. Oftentimes, when we are going through rough times, sad times, we have a tendency to actually create unnecessary suffering within ourselves because we keep on going over and over and over all of the events that happened that made us sad. So it is about actually letting those things go in order to raise your vibration again. We are always going to be in a constant state of back and forth when it comes to our emotions and our energetic state. But the more time you spend in the higher energies, the less likely it's going to be that the little things are going to get to you, the little tiny frustrations in the day-to-day. Have gratitude for all of the things that you have going on in your life, even the challenging situations, because those are always things that are going to teach you lessons that you may need to know for the future. This is why you might often hear people say that meditation is the key, because meditation is a really good tool to be able to bring your emotions, your energy, and your thoughts back into balance. So you're not either in lower energy or higher energy, you're just in a neutral space. It's a beautiful place to create from. Once you get to that neutral space, and you're actually able to stabilize your frequency, that's when you can start building upon that and building the beautiful, joyous things in your life. Law number 3 is the law of correspondence. And this is the law that is speaking to the universe, always reflecting back at you how you are actually showing up for the rest of the world. If you are showing up in gratitude and in joy and peacefulness, that is what will be reflected back at you. One other thing that can come up in the law of correspondence are patterns. Patterns of what is happening in your life. It's almost the universe's way of communicating with you. So if you are doing something and you keep on getting the same result over and over and over again, that is a pattern. And that is the universe's way of showing you that maybe this is something that you need to look at. Maybe this is something that you need to change or make a different decision on. You can also notice the repeating patterns all over the world. So repeating shapes and numbers. And that is where we get a lot of our signs. And we spoke about that in our previous episode. And the best way to utilize this particular law is to be aware. Be aware of the signs and the patterns that are coming up for you so you can actually transmute them as well as move on to new energies. If you're wondering what that means to transmute energy, don't worry, that's coming up in law number 6. Law number 4 is the ever popular law of attraction. I'm not going to go too deep into this one only because the next episode, which would be episode 12, I'm going to be doing an entire show on manifesting, which delves right into the law of attraction. I will give you the definition here, though. The law of attraction says that you will attract that to you which you are putting out. If you are in a constant state of judgment and sadness and sorrow and anger and frustration, you are basically going to get more of the same. So you have to actually shift your thoughts. You have to shift your energy, your visceral reactions of how you feel about things in order to start attracting to you what you want in your life. And the things that you don't want are there to show you that you don't want them. Once you realize the things that you don't want, you can start focusing on the things that you do. I talk about attracting things to your life. I'm not necessarily speaking of physical objects, money, all of those things, although you can absolutely manifest those things through the law of attraction. But the first place to start is with your emotions. So instead of saying, I would like to attract more wealth and abundance into my life in the way of money, you can simply say, I would like to have a feeling of peace and joy in my life. I would like to have abundance so I am able to help others and myself. If you start with the intangible emotions first, it allows the universe to bring to you what is best for you at this time. Because what we might be asking for as far as tangible items might not be the best for us at this moment. If you leave it open to the universe to attract to you the very things that are the best for you at this moment, you are going to be much, much happier in the long run. The fifth law is the law of inspired action. This law is speaking of, yes, actually taking action and doing things in your life. Because you can't just sit on your meditation cushion and will things to you and not do anything about it. So if you are meditating and all of a sudden you get a phone call and it's the dream job that you wanted, but you don't answer the phone, then you are not paying attention to what the universe is presenting to you. So this is a little bit about receiving and being open to receiving what you are attracting, in addition to taking action and taking the steps that you need to take in order to bring this beautiful thing into your life in reality. If you are in a space where you're not being guided to take any action and you're being guided to rest or meditate or do something that is for you in self-care, that still means that the law of inspired action is still in effect. It may not be something that you have to do in regards to the desire you are trying to manifest, but maybe it's simply something that would bring you joy for that day. So if you want to ask yourself, what would actually make me really happy today? Maybe it's taking a nap. Maybe it is going out and having dinner with a friend. Maybe it is playing a video game. I love playing video games, and that's something that brings me joy. And there's nothing wrong with that. So whatever it is that brings you joy, do that one thing for that day, even if it has nothing to do with what you're trying to manifest. And here we are at law number 6, the law of perpetual transmutation. This is something that I mentioned earlier in this episode, which is the transmutation of energy and how important it is to do this when you're trying to raise your vibration. When you are transmuting energy, you are basically changing it into something else. As you know, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So we simply need to change our energy. And how do we do that? We focus our attention on something else. If you are in jealousy, you are having a really hard time managing your jealous thoughts, your jealous feelings, then all you have to do is stop the thoughts, stop the stories, and start going back into your balanced state. You can't get to joy and happiness and non-judgment from a state of sadness and jealousy or despair. You have to kind of come to that mid-range first in order to launch you into those higher energies. It's almost like taking stepping stones. If you are able to come to that place of balance and then transmute the energy, rewrite the story, and figure out what it is that will make you happy. Once you do that, you're able to transmute that jealous energy maybe into something that is compassionate for another person or for something that somebody is going through. One of the most important things that I have learned in my life is that you never know what another person is going through. It is almost impossible to see absolutely every detail of another person's life. So you don't know why they're going to be reacting the way that they are, or you don't know why they're in a state of emotion that they're in. And if we are able to invoke that law of oneness, which is the first law, and have that beautiful compassion for the other person, understanding that they may be going through something that is so deep and so hard that you would never even know. Because a lot of times people build up walls, they create facades for other people to see so they don't know what they are going through. Having compassion, having gratitude for where you are two of the best ways that you can transmute energy. The seventh law is the law of cause and effect, or otherwise known as karma. This can be a really tough one, simply because we are often balancing the scales, so to speak, not only in this lifetime, but also from previous lifetimes. So you might have somebody in your life right now where things seem very, very imbalanced. And there are times when the reason for that is because you are burning off karma from another lifetime. So think about this as transmutation on a grander scale. You are not just transmuting the energy within yourself. You are transmuting the energy globally based on the people you came in contact with in previous lifetimes, based on experiences you had or decisions you made. And it's not necessarily important to know every single thing that you did over the course of your most likely hundreds or thousands of lifetimes. It is very important for you to know what it is that you are supposed to be working on in this lifetime. Now, not to worry, we constantly work on these things in our lives without even realizing that we're doing it. So we are balancing karma on a pretty regular basis, and we may not even realize it. There are certain things, though, that may take a little bit of extra care and awareness. And that is what I do when I do the Akashic record readings for people, is to help them identify maybe those areas of karma in which they need to balance them or in which they need to let go of something. The messages that I have gotten regarding karma have been that it's actually much bigger than we realize. And it's simply because it's not something that's like an eye for an eye. It actually has to do with our individual lessons that we're learning as well. So it is an incredibly complex network of energetic connections that create this law of karma. That karmic energy will always find a balance. No matter how it needs to happen, it will find its balance. Now, when we incarnate into lives on this earth, prior to our incarnations, we will make decisions based on that karma. So maybe we decide that we are going to experience something specific, not only to balance that karma, but then also to help us along our spiritual journey and to learn the lessons that we need to learn. That particular action might be threefold. You might have so many different things that you are accomplishing just with this one particular decision or this one act or this one event that will happen to you. If you have events in your life that you question or that you're wondering why this particular event happened, feel free to contact me because I can help you actually discover the reason for that event happening in your life. There's no reason to sit there and ponder and wonder and stress about why did something happen. What we want to look at is actually what you're learning from it, what you're taking away from it, and how you will move forward in your life after this karma has been paid, after this lesson has been learned, and see how it has propelled you into another stage of your spiritual journey. Law number 9 is the law of compensation. This law states that whatever energy you put out, you will get back as far as compensation. If you notice, there is a theme in a lot of these laws, which is balance. If you, let's say, pay for dinner for a friend and they decide to pay for dinner the next time, that is a balance. If you are giving to a charity and you decide that you are going to give to that charity on a monthly basis, it is likely that you will start to see an uptick in your business life, in your job. You might get a salary increase, things like that. It essentially means that when it comes to energy exchanges, it has to be completely 100% balanced. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be balanced with that one particular person. It means that you have to be in balance with giving and receiving. So if you are one of those people, which I definitely was one of these people for most of my life, where I was an overgiver, I would give constantly, and not just money, it was energy, it was help, it was everything that I could possibly do to help another person. I would do it. And mainly that came out of my desire to be liked, to people please. And so that wasn't coming from a place of genuine love and compassion for somebody else. It was simply because I wanted to feel good and I wanted to be liked and loved. Love comes from love. That's it. You don't need to do anything to get love. Love simply is. It simply exists. If you want to think about this in terms of what do I do when somebody wants to buy me dinner? Do I feel really uncomfortable? Am I always denying the person and saying, no, I can't let you pay. I can't let you pay. How are you in receiving and how are you in giving? Is it a balance in your life? Are there certain people where you feel like you have a hard time receiving compliments, where you have a hard time receiving any sort of criticism? You have to think about every aspect of your life in terms of giving and receiving energy. And if you are giving too much, you will find yourself completely depleted, exhausted. You could actually create disease in your life because of your lack of balance within yourself. If you are not able to receive, you will find that people will not be as attracted to you from the standpoint of wanting to speak to you, wanting to work with you, wanting to be in a relationship with you. You have to be able to receive in order to have a balanced relationship with anyone, whether it's parents or a lover or friends, coworker. It doesn't matter who it is. You have to have that balance. Next time somebody gives you a compliment, maybe practice this. If they say, "Oh, those are fantastic shoes. I love those." Simply say thank you. That's it. You don't have to compliment them back. You don't have to say anything back. Simply receive, because that will get you into the habit of understanding what it means to receive energy, to receive compliments, to receive money, all of the things that you want to have flow into your life. It needs to be accepted, right? So you have to be able to receive what is coming to you. Because if you start manifesting and you are doing fantastic manifesting, you're doing your journals, you're doing everything, you're like, why isn't it coming to me? Well, are you in the receptive mode? Are you actually trying to receive what is coming to you? Because if you have all sorts of walls and blocks up in regards to receiving, it's not going to come to you. And a lot of times when people have issues with receiving, it has to do with self-worth. Most of the time, it has to do with somebody who doesn't feel like they are worthy of what is coming to them. So that is going to be a solar plexus chakra issue. If you would like to do some meditations in regards to your solar plexus, there are a ton of them on YouTube. You can just type in solar plexus chakra meditation and there will be pages and pages of them. I highly recommend doing a a meditation such as that in order to help you with self-worth and receiving. Law number 9 is the law of relativity. This law states that everything is based on your perceived perception. So what is absolute joy and bliss for you might not be joy and bliss for another person. Just because you feel like your life is supposed to go in a particular way, and you see somebody else and maybe their life is going better than yours, and all of a sudden you start judging that and you start saying, well, their life is better than mine, but they don't deserve it because they've done X, Y, and Z, or whatever the case may be. It simply is not for you to judge, because you have no idea what they have gone through. You have no idea what their life lessons are, and everything is relative. It is about your own personal experience, your own lessons that you are here to learn, and that is it. It is not for you to judge another human being and where they are. It is not to judge anything on this planet, because everything is happening in divine timing. If you think about this law in this way, you cannot judge another person's journey unless you've walked in their shoes. You've heard that expression 1,000 times in your life, I imagine. That's exactly what this law is speaking of. You cannot understand what another person is going through unless you have gone through it. It is also something that you have to understand in terms of many, many lifetimes. Maybe in this lifetime, you have not gone through this particular experience, but you definitely have in another life. If you start thinking about it in terms of multiple lifetimes, multiple experiences, and if you think about the fact that throughout the course of our many, many lifetimes, we have all been pretty much everyone. Therefore, you cannot judge another person for who they are. If you want to take a look at what is going on in politics, everybody is judging everybody else. But I can guarantee you have been, whatever side you're on in politics, you have been on the other side. Now, maybe that was 15 lifetimes ago, but it still happened. Even if you are not aware of it, just thinking about the fact that we have all been every single person, every single experience, and even if you haven't yet, they are things that you will experience. We are here to experience nearly everything we can possibly experience on this planet. And this is yet another law that can really invoke a lot of compassion for your fellow human beings. Even if you don't agree with something somebody says or something someone does, it's okay. You can continue to not agree with them. You can decide not to engage with them, but you have to also understand that they are doing the best that they can, and they have a completely different perspective than you do. Life is happening for you, not to you. So maybe that contrasting opinion or that really stubborn friend that you have is teaching you something. Look at it from the standpoint of, what could this potentially be teaching me? What can I learn from this situation? And if it's something like, okay, well, I'm learning that maybe I shouldn't engage with people on the internet about politics, then yeah, maybe that's something you should stop doing. Maybe that lesson is, maybe I need to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to this one particular friend, because I know that they are going to be really stubborn about things. So if I soften my energy, it will only help them to soften theirs. And that brings us to law number 10, which is the law of polarity, which is a beautiful segue because this law is speaking of the opposites that we have in this world. We live in a very dualistic society. And just as I use the politics example, whenever somebody starts talking about politics, it doesn't matter what country you're in. Everybody has some pretty strong opinions as to what they feel or the fact that they don't like what has happened. What's incredibly beautiful about that is once you realize the things that you don't like or things that you don't believe in, you can actually rewrite the whole history of what you actually want. How can you know what you do want until you see what you don't want? It is the law of polarity. The 11th law is the law of rhythmic energy. If you imagine your day-to-day life moment to moment, it would probably look somewhat like a radio wave or a little squiggly line that's going up and down, almost like a roller coaster. How contrasting those hills and valleys are really depends on quite a few things. First, it depends on the things that you have actually agreed to work on in this life through your soul contract. It also depends on your individual energy. And if you have been doing your spiritual work, if you've been raising your vibration, if we lived an experience that wasn't rhythmic, that was just sort of a flat line, we would probably not get a lot accomplished in terms of our soul growth and our spirituality, as well as our lives would be probably pretty boring, quite frankly. When you have the law of rhythmic energy, it simply states that you are always going to have these sort of peaks and valleys. What is important to know about this law is that it is always going to be a constant. How you move through these peaks and valleys is what is important. If you have a pretty devastating thing happen in your life, are you going to perpetuate that devastation for years? Or are you going to transmute that energy and be able to continue with the rest of your life, knowing that is an experience that has shaped you and that has created a difference in you? And accepting the fact that every single human goes through these experiences. In my opinion, what makes a really joyous and balanced life is to be able to make those peaks and valleys be as shallow as possible in your day-to-day life. So you don't have huge drama, you don't have huge spikes of emotion. And when you have that sort of balance within your life, it creates more joy, it creates more love, and that's what you want to have a majority of the time. Now, that's not going to prevent bad things from happening. It's part of life. People are going to die. You may lose friends. You may grow apart. You may get a divorce. There might be things in your life that happen that are really sad and really awful and take a really long time to really get over. Sometimes we don't fully get over those experiences because, as I said, they do shape who you become. And it is 100% up to you how that shapes you and what that turns you into. So are you going to take that experience and learn from it? Or are you just going to brood on that particular situation and let it consume you? The choice is completely yours. And I know it doesn't feel like a choice in the moment, especially when you are going through deep grief or pain, but it is a choice at a certain point. Once you're able to transmute that energy, it does become easier and you can start to see the reason for that experience in your life. The final law, which is law number 12, is the law of masculine and feminine energies. This is kind of a big one because every single person on this planet has both masculine and feminine energies. It has nothing to do with sexual orientation or gender or anything. It is simply about energy. And if you think about it in terms of yin and yang, or what I was talking about earlier, which is the balance of energies, giving and receiving. So being in the receptive energy is going to be your feminine energy. Being in your giving energy is going to be your masculine energy. And you can see it within yourself if you actually start to take a look at where you reside most. You can see which of those energies is dominant in you. I can say that when I first started in my career as a designer back when I was 22, I was in a very male-dominated design field. I had graduated with an industrial design degree, and 90% of the people in that field were men. And because of that, I found that I actually did tap into more of my masculine energy in order to assimilate or survive in that industry. It's not necessarily something that's bad. It was just something that sort of created an imbalance in me because as much as I was residing in my masculine energy, I continue to do so, especially when I went on my own and started my own business. The problem is that it does create this imbalance within the person if you are residing in one energy or the other a majority of the time. Again, this idea and this concept of balance is coming into play because in order to be a well-rounded spiritual person, you have to be able to be balanced in both energies. That is balanced in giving and receiving. That is balanced in knowing what it feels like to attract something to you and when it is time to take action. We can even break this down a little bit further. If we want to break it down into divine masculine and divine feminine energies, as well as distorted masculine and distorted feminine energies. These are the energies that are on both ends of the spectrum of polarity in both the masculine and feminine energies. Clearly, with everything that is going on in the world right now, you can see that there is a lot of distorted masculine energy that is coming up to the surface. One of the things that I've had discussions about with many people over the course of the last several years is that, yes, it seems like it's getting worse in the world, but it's actually coming to the surface so it can be transmuted. So if you remember what we were speaking about when you were trying to transmute energy within yourself, you cannot have it stuffed down and hidden. It has to be brought to the surface in order to be transmuted. That means that you're going to see all of the ugliness and all of the hatred and all of the things that you may not want to see in order for it to be eradicated. I encourage you to take a look at some of the situations in your own life and start looking at it from the lens of, is this in my divine feminine energy? Is this my divine masculine? Or, in fact, is this in a distorted energy? Is this in controlling or jealous or judgmental energy? All of those things are going to be in that distorted nature, whether it be distorted feminine or distorted masculine. The one thing I can say about my experience with all of these laws of the universe is that the pendulum always swings. It's always going from one direction to the other and then coming into balance. And that is the case with most things in life. Sometimes we have to swing that pendulum really far to one side before it can come back to the other side, and then before it can come into balance. But like I said, when you're working on these energetics, you cannot go from hatred to love in just one step. There are many, many steps in between to get from that place of hatred to love. Utilizing these 12 laws of the universe can really help you with that process. You may not be feeling hatred, but maybe you're feeling annoyed. Maybe you're feeling other lower energies. And knowing these laws of the universe can really help you to start transmuting, start balancing, and start living the life that you want to live. Thank you so much for listening, and join us next week for episode 12, where we talk about how to create your most magical life with manifesting. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to walking this journey with you and pointing the way on your spiritual journey. If you are interested in learning more about me and the sessions that I do, feel free to go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. On all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111. Hey, and if you feel called, I would love it if you could rate The Heart of You on whatever streaming service you're using, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take a moment, give it a review. It really does help the channel. Thanks so much.